All right, it's gonna be like a 10-second lag. And we are live. There's 6 people waiting. Thank you all for being like patient. 10-second lag. And we gonna wait a few minutes for more people to join. Thank you for being flexible. Hello, people. Hello, everybody. All right, so we can get started, and then as people trickle in, they trickle in. So we're gonna do our 4th day of interviews for Engineers Week, and today we have Griffin Fuller, who is a Chicago native and is a civil engineer. Griffin, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure thing. Okay. Minimal echo here where I'm standing, so that's good. Do I sound okay? That sounds good, right?
Yeah, you sound fine.
Okay. Great. So good morning, everybody. My name is Griffin, as Miss J said. I'm from the Chicagoland area. I'm originally from Oak Park, and I am a civil engineer. So it's been a while since I've been in school, since I graduated 2 years ago from the University of Illinois at Chicago with a degree in civil engineering. And so basically what we do is we just design, construct, and just oversee the building of infrastructure like roads, buildings that probably the shelter you're watching this broadcast in right now. We figure out ways to make it so that the water that comes from the sky can end up being cleaned and come out your faucet in your bathroom, and everything in between, making the roads and, designing them so that you don't get stuck and spend most of your days in traffic. So I was always interested in seeing the world around me, how it worked, how it was designed, and I just wanted to be a part of that. So when I'm not doing that, I like photography, I like music. I've always tried to, support the creative arts and just be creative on my own too. And being a civil engineer, I say that there's a lot of time, to explore those passions. So something to think about.
Yeah, I think definitely one of the things that we've been noticing throughout all of these interviews is you don't need to stop being creative, and you don't need to give up on your art to do these engineering jobs, because it does play such an important role in what you do.
I agree entirely. I'm glad other engineers have harped on a similar sentiment too, because, let that go to pass. I'm gonna move back a little bit. But yeah, I'm saying that, we're human beings too. They say that we're probably not as socially aware as like other majors or people of other professions, but we're friendly and we like the same things you might. So yeah.
Nice. And you said you really liked like observing the world around you. What was your biggest inspiration to get into civil engineering?
Well, there are a lot of inspirations, I'd say, and I would say just buildings in general, like seeing like bricks stacked up, like around like a house or something like that. Like looking at the grooves in between, the figure. I'm just asking questions to myself, wondering how do they figure any of this stuff out? How to do this? So it always fascinated me, even like the smallest things in the world. But I would say the one trip that really kind of like put my mind in perspective was a family trip we did. We went on to Las Vegas in 2012 for spring break, and we saw the Hoover Dam. And if you know what the Hoover Dam is, you know that it was probably one of the largest civil engineering projects that our country ever embarked upon. It was so many tons of concrete just to keep the Colorado River from overflowing the Las Vegas Canyon. And that generated a lot of power. And it still does for about 80 years. But there was a bridge, and it's not very well known, even though Hoover Dam is. It was just like half a mile from the ground, like the base of the canyon. And I was looking at it and I was just amazed because it was arched. And I was asking my dad, like, how did they even get up there? Like, that should be impossible to build, you know. And I mean, he said something to the effect of, you know, when you put your mind to something and you have the technical skill, you can do anything. And so I was just like, okay, I've had enough dreaming. I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to go to school to become a civil engineer. Like sophomore year of high school, that's when I figure out what I wanted to be in life.
Nice. And I think it's important to, like you said, have that mindset where you want to do something, but also starting off with that like inquisitive like thought process, right? Like, oh, I'm gonna look at this and try to figure out how they did it is also really important. Oh, I see Miss Tobias in the comments. Do you see the comments, Griffin?
I do. Let me open up the chat.
All right, cool. I've never been to the Hoover Dam, but I imagine it's humongous.
Oh yeah, it's way bigger in person. I see Angelica, man. I bet that was amazing, right?
All right. So can we talk about some of the successes that you've had? And you could talk about successes that you had in like terms of your career or like outside projects, whatever it may be. Like what are some things that you're really, really proud of?
Well, it's kind of like a spectrum because in my field, I'm a designer. So really what I do is just develop the plans that the construction crews will use and reference in order to build underground conduits that connect power from substations to people in their homes or people in businesses, hospitals, saving lives. You name it. Anyone who needs power, we try to deliver it to them. So just being able to even put my name on those designs and put together like 50 sheet long, like 50 page long like sheets and send them to like a project manager, and that's the person who stamps it and they say it's good, then I feel really proud because still this all seems surreal to me. And I'll say that there's this one project I've been working on since December of 2019. We're still working on it in March of 2021 because this is over like 7 miles of conduit we're running from like a small town in Western Illinois to Joliet, if you've heard of that. And I was just working away, this like drawing lines, and we have to bring in other elements because we're not the only underground utility out there. There are other things, gas lines, water lines, Comcast. They've been there for way longer than anything else. underground. We have to work our way around those things. So that's the main challenge. And I went out to the site a few weeks ago, and I had to go talk to some people about how the design's going. I almost ran to some cones, and I was like, whoa, I just swerved on the road. Like, not swerve, I mean, you kind of just caught me off guard a little bit. So I got into one lane, and then I saw like the machines, and I was like, what? They're building it. Like, they're probably using my plans to actually build it, because like they blocked off the whole lane of traffic. They had the machines out there. They don't have, they don't necessarily have people working in a trench, digging out the ground and things like that. They have a big machine that can bore like 1,000 feet at one time. They just feed it into it, and it just bores into the ground. It's like a tunnel digger.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, they're on the right side of the road. They're like, this many feet off the roadway. Like, oh my goodness, they're actually building it. Like, everything I was working on is now being brought into fruition, even though this is one of the things that you wouldn't even know it existed, because it's, probably 5 feet underground. So that was a really proud moment. And that happened like 2 or 3 weeks ago now.
That's amazing. Just knowing that you had a part in bringing all these essentials to people, like you said, to hospitals, to people, is pretty amazing. Can we talk about some of the stumbling blocks that you've had through your education, or any projects that you've been working on, and maybe how you got through it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's no walk in the park to get here, for any engineer, I'd say. And there are a lot of stumbling blocks in college. I'd say there were some stumbling blocks in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I had, not always earning scholarships. So, kind of, just having to work a little bit through college, have to use financial aid. So that adds a bit of pressure to succeed, because that it's going to take a lot out of you, but they also need more from you on top of that in forms of money. So it was tough. It was a tough curriculum, but I always had the mindset of, okay, you're going to make me take calculus. Okay, I have to take chemistry. All right. I have to take a physics. I have to take statics. I have to take transportation design. I'm like, okay, because it would make no sense, for me to be like, oh man, I got to do that. I mean, it's probably in my best interest to learn all these subjects. So, and it didn't always come easy. Sometimes I would fail exam. I wouldn't be able to complete homework, all the questions they had, because they would just have me stumped. Like, I felt like I just didn't have all the information I needed. But having a strong support system there, you're going to school with a lot of people from all over the world in college, and I am blessed to have like a strong support system, not only with my family, but classmates. I can talk to the professor about anything. That's why I would say, if you're going through a tough time, I would just talk to someone with a little bit more expertise, because there's a reason why they're at where they're at, and it's because not because they know everything, but they are able to learn everything. So definitely bumped my head a lot in college. I wasn't the brightest student, but I learned a lot, and that's what matters the most.
And you worked hard. I think, yeah, and like you said, I think it gets really overwhelming when people think that they need to know everything, right? Like, you don't need to know everything. You just need to be able to work with people that know other things than you. We have a question from Ms. Gallagher. She's asking, or her students are asking, how old are you and how long did it take you to become a civil engineer?
I'm Ms. Gallagher. I'm 24 years old, and I would say, yeah, it took 5 years of undergrad education to earn the degree.
And what was your favorite subject in middle school?
Mm, mm. Well, probably if you think about the core subjects, I'd say math. Math was pretty concrete and, you know, just numbers. Hmm.
All right, I'm gonna read through Ms. Tobias's comment. Engineering school was tough, perseverance is important, and that support system. I joined the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers to help me. Did you join any engineering support groups?
I'm so glad you brought it up. I love SHIP, and I was part of NSBE, the National Society of Black Engineers, throughout my entire college tenure, and that was a great organization to be a part of. I had really never been a part of anything like that prior to college, um, and they were very helpful, and not just because they did anything, and they did do a lot. We had study sessions on Tuesdays. We had like free food. We had people like corporate sponsors coming in, giving us skills, tools of the trade about time management, how to study effectively, how to ace a job interview. And they would provide free food. So we were eating really good on Wednesdays.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah, it goes a long way in college. They provided a role model for me. And that it created a roadmap for me because I knew a lot of upperclassmen in the National Society of Black Engineers in our chapter at UIC. And I wanted to be just like them. Like, I thought they were so cool. I thought they were like rock stars. They made it over the mountaintop. For me as a black man, having those role models and those success stories in front of me, those meant the world to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I could have made it without those. Just having them in my conscience, like, yeah, a guy like me, could make it through a place like this.
That's so important.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Vasquez is asking, you went to UIC, right?
Yep.
I'm just looking at these questions that I'm getting. Are there a lot of opportunities for engineers with a bachelor's degree, or is it generally expected to eventually go further in your education and get your master's degree? And that's from Ms. Champlin-Dixon.
Ms. Champlin-Dixon. Thank you. That's a good question. And it's something I hear a lot. Should I go further, or am I good where I'm at? I only have a bachelor's of science degree, and that was enough for my current company, Art Marauder, to accept me. And of course, there's other qualifications that gotta go into it, and that's, do you fit into the work culture? Do you work well with others? Are you receptive to criticism or the positive reinforcement? It doesn't hurt to get your master's degree. If you really like school, I would say go for it. Because I still miss, the grind, having a backpack on, going from class to class, seeing a lot of people that look like me, like my age. Those are the days. So if you go back for your master's program, that's kind of like a blast in the past. There are more opportunities, I believe, that will pop up for you. And I would say on the advanced career path, at least. I can't tell you what specific fields, like disciplines of engineering, civil engineering specifically, that a master's degree opens up. But if you want to go into structural engineering, which is, by the definition, like the design of tall like skyscrapers, trying to get it so like a building can stand on its own foundation for years, decades, that requires a master's degree. So that's the only thing I can really think of.
We have another question from Miss Gallagher's class. What was the first civil engineering project that you worked on?
Well, first civil engineering project I worked on out of school, we were trying to design 5G attachments. I think they were from AT&T or some telecoms company. Yeah, Crown Castle. So for Crown Castle, we were using AutoCAD, which is a design drafting service using the computer. You know, we were just trying to analyze existing poles, like the tall wooden poles you see, you know, on the street that have all the primary wires running overhead. We were trying to install 5G attachments and antennas to them, and just to prepare for just the next generation of internet connectivity. So that was the first project I worked on. You know, pretty static. I like what I'm working on now even more. But
do you want to tell us what you've been working on now, and how has the pandemic affected your field of work?
Yeah, so I'm still working on that same project that they tasked me with in December of 19, and that is just what you call, by definition, it is like 34 kilovolt in fiber redistribution. So basically what that means is we're taking like 34 kilovolt, like that's high voltage electricity that's currently exists and is running overhead on poles. We're trying to switch all that underground. So we're running through a small town. We're running alongside Illinois Route 53, which is way in, western Illinois. It's a little outside of Chicago city limits. And we're just trying to circumvent all the existing utilities out there. So we're probably like boring for like 8 miles up into from one substation. And if you don't know what a substation is, ComEd has a lot of these. They step down electricity from the power plants so that, you don't have like, the force of lightning coming through your electrical socket, they step down, the electricity. So we're going from one substation in a place called Elwood, Illinois, all the way to Joliet. And working from home, it's a little different because my office is about, that's my bed. These are my computers that I took home from the office a year ago. And I probably could show you some of the designs if you were interested in seeing them. Just a sneak peek. It's a sneak peek. No screenshots.
Don't give us the whole project.
Can't do that. Yeah. But the pandemic hit all of us in a lot of different ways. But we are still very well connected through Microsoft Teams, through email. Any of us are a call away. For the most part, since I'm kind of taking my work home, I kind of like working anytime I want, to be honest. And what by that means, like, I can work longer if I want to, or at least kind of space out like the time a bit more, so that I'm able to kind of take care of like responsibilities that I would probably have like in my apartment, or like picking up the mail, or getting some lunch across the street. So working from home has been definitely very different for all of us, but we have been staying safe. That's the most important thing.
Definitely. You work with a team, or is it mostly like individual work?
We work in teams. For me, I'm a designer, but we'll have someone who's a project manager, and that's the person that he bid for the work. So like it's like a competition between different engineering companies trying to get the same contract. Like what I'm doing could have gone to like any designer and almost any company in the Chicagoland area if they really wanted it. But
Mhm.
the project manager is responsible saying, like, we can do it for this price and we can have it done by this time. And it's really kind of not a gamble, but it's an educated guess. And we try to like act in the best interests of companies like ComEd. Um, that's really it. We work with ComEd quite a bit. We do work in teams. I work with electrical engineers and they figure out what to put in the conduits. My job as a civil engineer is to figure out how we can put that underground safely.
And then how important are the engineering habits of mind? So we talked a little bit about collaboration with your team members, communication, ethical considerations, optimism, and creativity.
Could you say that one more time? Sorry.
Yeah. So how important are the engineering habits of mind in your job? So we know that you work with a team, so you need to be able to collaborate with them. You need to be able to communicate well with them. But could we talk about what ethical considerations do you take in your field? Maybe like what the role of, we talked a little bit about this, what the role of creativity in your design plans is, and what is the last engineering habit of mine? Optimism.
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 Ooh, that's an interesting question. And when I think about it, there's a whole book on engineering ethics, and I really do think it applies to to everyone at every stage in the engineering career. For me, I'm kind of like still at the entry level. But as far as like ethics and habits that I try to employ on the daily is just, trying to be safe, better safe than sorry. We try to establish clearances from different utilities. Like if I'm drafting something and we want to install a proposed conduit on this kind of like side of the roadway, and there are sewer lines, there's AT&T lines, there's like even existing ComEd lines, we still have to be at least more than 3 feet edge to edge, like horizontally. Because those are the rules that those pipelines have in store for anyone else like trying to install near them. So we definitely can't really cut corners with those kinds of things because those could severely impact other people's livelihoods, their way of receiving power or removing waste or communicating. But for the most part, our ethics and, some of the habits we try to keep are just being honest, being on time as much as we can. And if we can't rise to a certain challenge, if we really can't finish something by the day and time it was originally set out for, we have to admit that.
Mm-hmm.
We have to get ahead of that and be like, we may have overestimated and we may need a bit more time. We may even need more money,
Mm-hmm.
just to keep us afloat, just to keep the ship moving along. So the habits we try to use is just being very organized. Many times just writing what you want to get done down on a piece of paper in a given day and just check down the list. So kind of the same practices that you might use in school, using a planner,
Mm-hmm.
staying organized day to day,
Mm-hmm.
talking to your teacher when you need help,
Mm-hmm.
just getting ahead of things because, not all this is easy, but, there's ways we can make it easier because in engineering, we're doing things that have never been done before, but in very familiar ways. And, there's a way for us all to succeed, learn from it, and just be better people through it.
That's very optimistic, and you made some really good points. We have some questions. So Ms. Baez's class wants to know, did you always want to be an engineer, or did you want to be something else in the past?
I think that's a great question. I almost sneezed. I wanted to be a writer when I was very young, around 8, as far back as I can remember, because I did like writing quite a bit, even though I wasn't the strongest reader. By strongest, I wasn't the guy who was reading a novel a month like my sister was. My younger sister read the entire Harry Potter series in 8 months, and she was incredible. But I love writing because I like writing stories, stringing words together using the English language. Um, and I still do a little bit, even though I don't really write many essays anymore. Um, it's always in the back of my mind. But pretty much anything I like to do recreationally or casually through my early childhood, I kind of thought about doing that for a career. I was really into religion when I went to a Lutheran school in 3rd and 4th grade. I wanted to be a missionary, to spread Christianity to unexplored parts of the world, travel and stuff. But that was just because I was, studying in a very religious school. I wanted to be an architect. Now that's probably the closest thing, closest career path to the one I'm currently in. With architects, they're very similar in practice to what you would say what a structural engineer is or a civil engineer is.
We had an architect speak on Tuesday.
Architect. How did she define architecture? If you don't mind.
How did they define it?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if we defined what it actually was, but we did talk a lot about planning the blueprints for hospitals and buildings.
Yeah, that's kind of what I associate with it too, because I haven't spoken to an architect one-on-one in a long time. But yeah, I was really interested in designing and just kind of figuring out what this building will look like on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
Like what kind of arches it would have. Would it even have columns? What kind of materials? But then I kind of realized that civil engineers, I really wanted to be behind the science of it a bit more. Like I think that was kind of my niche because I like math and science quite a bit. I think someone told me in high school, oh yeah. This person just kind of told me that you may earn a little bit more money in civil engineering. And I don't know. And then I also learned that in civil engineers, they're involved in a lot more broader disciplines than just building. So there's a lot of diversity in what you can do with a degree and your skills. So I wanted to be a lot of things. I wanted to be a video game designer because I really like video games. I played the PS2 almost religiously. I didn't go outside.
PS2.
I played the PlayStation, and I played all the games Mom and Dad got me. And I was having the time of my life. I wanted to really, really do it because my dad explained the people who knew how to make the PlayStation had to know their math, and that's why you should do your homework. So
that's a good point. I know there's a lot of students that are listening right now that want to be video game designers. Do the math.
I'm looking forward to playing your games. Go for it.
All right, we have a question from Miss Espinosa. How much free time do you have, and what do you enjoy doing?
I would say I have a lot more free time than I had in college. That's for sure. Because when I'm done with work, due to these current circumstances, I have to take my work home. Like that's my computer right there. That's my bed. So all I really got to do is, just turn one thing off and then, watch some videos on YouTube. I'm a big YouTube fan. I don't even have cable. I don't need it. I just love watching content creators online. some things I do in my free time. I like to run. I was a runner in high school. I ran cross country, and that's something I do to kind of stay active and stay energized. Um, Recently, like for the past year, I've been really into photography. I got this cool camera. Yeah, and yeah, this thing has been like my pride and joy for quite a while now. Um, and I just been taking pictures of like landscapes I see out my window, going around town and just like testing it out, trying to learn more about it. My cousin really got me into it because he was just having a ball with it, and I've always liked pictures, so I was like, I'm gonna get into this. But growing up on YouTube, I watched a lot of music videos growing up. So when I got this camera, and I kind of realized like I used to edit videos sometimes too. Growing up, I used to watch AMVs to Linkin Park, and they just have clips of Dragon Ball Z and Broly, just having a big fight with Goku in the back, and that used to it just used to get me so excited more than anything. So I started shooting music videos for local artists in the neighborhood. It's using my camera, because I really like their songs. I'd say I like music as much as I like designing the infrastructure of the future. So, running, photography, music videography, trying to hang out safely with my friends, going out, exploring, traveling. Those are some of the things I really like to do.
Very cool. Let's do 2 more questions, and then we need to start wrapping it up. So I think this one's going to be very controversial. What Chicago sports team is your favorite?
Chicago Bulls. Even now.
There, you can't go wrong with Chicago Bulls.
Not too controversial, right? I think you might be wondering about baseball teams. Is that so?
Not I. Whoever asked this question, I think, wanted to stir the pot.
I'm gonna go safe and go to Chicago Bulls, because who's against the Chicago Bulls?
Nobody
in Chicago. Like,
you're right.
Can't think of it.
All right, and then could we end it off with maybe a piece of advice that you would give to students at our school?
My advice, there's a lot I could say, but I'll just keep it simple. Keep going. If you have a dream and an idea, continue to go for it. If it's not cool to others, make it cool. Just continue to have fun. Find a way to make your education fun. Set goals for yourself every week. If it's getting a little unchallenging or a little cumbersome, try to make it fun, Say, how long could I pay attention to Miss J, make eye contact with her on the screen? I'm going to try for 1 minute, and if I accomplish that goal, then okay, I might really have a chance at this. Up to 2 minutes, up to 5 minutes 1 week. I'm gonna make eye contact with Jay, and I'm really Miss J, and I'm really, really going to absorb everything she says. And I think when you set goals like that, start small incrementally, you're going to create a snowball effect as to becoming the best student you could possibly be. And I just say, be patient. I never thought I'd be 24, working as a civil engineer, being trusted in this industry. It seems so far off to me as a sophomore in high school, but I had to get through 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, and it wasn't always easy. I just had to be patient, and just know that the time was coming, one way or another. So it's going to take some time, but just continue to believe in yourself, make it fun, and just stay inspired. You can do anything.
Amazing. Thank you so much for talking with us, Griffin.
It was my pleasure.
All right. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Have a fantastic, what is today, Thursday? What is time anymore? Have a fantastic Thursday. And I'll see everybody later. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.